Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We're using the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 196, We Don't Cry, Tim and I. Now, this is a very interesting poem for me personally. For those of you who don't know, what is the Monty Python line? There are some who call me Tim. It is my name. And I remember as a child somebody said to me that Tim is and an E provides you with time or something like this. And I remember the joke about my name, and all of a sudden we're reading through these poems and we come to this poem where Tim is mentioned. Nobody can figure out exactly who this Tim is, although within the context of the poem we'll obviously figure it out. And it is one of the more bizarre poems in Emily's collection, but I think it's also a really important poem. I think it speaks directly to a whole lot of who Emily is and what she is. Now, we've got an imaginary friend. We got the voice of a child in this poem, and we're going to pay attention to the ways in which Emily identifies with this child in some profound way. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net down that left-hand side. Again, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already experienced the set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've already worked through the previous 195 poems we just finished with for this accepted breath. Now, if you do that and read all these poems, when you hit this poem, it will leap out at you as a somewhat different kind of poem than any of the poems that have come before. I'm going to argue that, in fact, this poem is different from almost every single poem that Emily writes for some interesting ways. She, of course, was influenced by Browning and his dramatic monologues. We're not going to argue that's what this is, but certainly she knew how to play that game. Now, Tim is used in this poem 9 times. The repetitions will be significant, and the language will remind us of Blake's Songs of Innocence poems that we've studied. In fact, we'll make some references to Chimney Sweeper at the end of our comments here. Now, to be fair, it's altogether possible that Tim here is referencing Dickens and Tiny Tim, the Christmas Carol published in 1843, shortly after Dickens' first American tour, and this poem written, we believe, sometime around 1860. So, it's no question, Emily knew this story, and of course, Tiny Tim, God bless us everyone, is the famous line that you're all familiar with. Of course, Tiny Tim, in that, we don't have tiny, we have little in this poem. I told you guys about her love of that word. Here, though, whoever the speaker is, if you want to say it's Emily, is going to adopt the persona, the voice of an actual child. We don't cry, Tim and I. We're far too grand, but we bolt the door tight to prevent a friend. Then we hide our brave face deep in our hand. Not to cry, Tim and I. We are far too grand. Nor to dream, he and me, do we condescend. We just shut our brown eye to see to the end. Tim see cottages, but oh so high. Then we shake, Tim and I. And lest I cry, Tim reads a little hymn, and we both pray. Please, sir, I and Tim always lost the way. We must die by and by, clergymen say. Tim shall, if I do. I too, if he. How shall we arrange it? Tim was so shy. Take us simultaneous, Lord, I, Tim, and me. Now, it is, I think, on surface, on the epidermal level, this is a pretty easy poem. We're obviously dealing with a child speaker who is talking about the imaginary friend Tim that allows her to get through, and at the end of the poem she is hopeful that this imaginary friend and she will die simultaneously, which is of course inevitable because that's the nature of imaginary friends. But I think there's something far more compelling going on here. I think that Emily, first of all, is playing some religious games here. I think that she is, first of all, playing with the Matthew 19:14 passage, "Suffer the children to come unto me, for such are the kingdom of heaven." You'll remember Christ as saying. We begin with the repetition of "we" twice. We will, first of all, talk about crying. We don't cry, Tim and I. We are, notice, far too grand. Now, this idea of being grand seems to suggest that there's a face I have to put on, right? What is it that Prufrock says? Every morning we meet the face to meet the faces that we meet. We don the face, put on the face to meet the faces that we meet. Here, notice, we're too grand for crying. Grand is an interesting word here. It's a show, right? But we bolt the door tight. Think about the power of this. Emily, many call her a recluse, sitting behind either a completely shut or partially shut door to have her conversations by the end of her life. But we bolt the door tight to prevent a friend. Now that's fascinating. And all of a sudden, when we start reading this poem closer, we go, whoa, wait a minute. Why would you bolt the door shut to prevent a friend? You would prevent an enemy, and that's why you would bolt the door shut. And all of a sudden people have said this is some reference possibly to Sue and possibly to some kind of negative energy between the two of them. Then, after we've bolted the door, we hide our brave face. So notice we go from grand to brave. We hide our brave face deep in our hand. This deep in our hand, I think, is provocative. It's often been mused. If we could go back in time and just look at Emily in her life's work, the number of hours she probably did spend with her head in her hand, thinking, contemplating, dealing with the challenges of her life, the sorrows, the fears, the anxieties of her life. But not to cry. In other words, we're hiding our brave face, but not to cry. We're back to the first line, Tim and I. We are far too grand. The repeating of this suggests that she's trying to convince herself, I am too grand. I am unable to show any kind of sorrow, pain through my crying. I'm not going to allow it. And as we've already said, Emily's father would fit right into this strand of Puritan thought. We don't show that kind of emotion. We are Dickinsons. We are grand. So it's possible she's playing a very ironic game here, no doubt. Nor to dream. Now this is interesting. He and me, we're not going to dream. We're not going to be allowed to dream. Do we condescend? You'll remember this word from poem 102. We just shut our brown eye to see to the end. By the way, notice it's brown eye, not eyes. And notice the irony that we shut our eyes to see. And notice the amount of Plato that's being played here as Republic 7 comes to mind. In other words, the only way to get through is to shut our eyes. Of course, we think immediately of Oedipus. At the moment that he sees, he becomes blind because he blinds himself. So we find all kinds of referencing here to see. And then, of course, it's to the end, which is how we'll end this poem, with death. Then, interestingly, she plays the game of John 14:2, the Gospel of John 14:2. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. This idea of cottages is maybe that. Tim, directly now she speaks to Tim, the imaginary pal. See, cottages, but oh so high. There's your mansions, that is to say heaven. Then we shake. So notice, we put our hands in our brave faces and now we shake, Tim and I. And lest I cry, back to the opening line, Tim reads a little hymn. Notice it's not he sings a hymn, he reads a hymn, right? And we both pray. It is interesting the way in which you can read between the lines here that Emily will spend maybe quite a bit of time thinking about praying but never getting around to praying. There's some famous lines and letters about this type of thing. Please, sir. Notice we'll begin with sir and end with Lord, right? Please, sir, I and Tim always lost the way. It's a fascinating line. It takes us back to the opening lines of Dante's Divine Comedy. You'll remember that Dante will talk about being lost in the middle of his life, in the middle of the way. The idea of being lost in a dark wood, always lost the way. I can't help but think of Stevie Smith's Not Waving But Drowning in this line. Always lost the way. Is this Emily recognizing out loud that she would never be understood, and the frustration is the only one she can confide any of this recognition to is the one who gets named 9 times in this poem, namely Tim. We must die by and by. We're back to the end, right? Tim, she says, we must die by and by, clergymen say. And again, now we're going to reference the religious component. Clergymen say, Tim shall, notice all your dashes here, to slow you down. Tim shall, if I do, I too, if he. Well, obviously, that is to say, oh, she's not talking about an actual pal. She's talking about an imaginary pal. And when I go, he goes. How shall we arrange it? Well, that's fascinating in terms of the question, and yet notice no question mark. Tim was so shy. There's your question mark. Now, the idea of shyness is fascinating. 16 poems, Emily will use this word. It is possible that that word shy is the best word to describe Emily. She is going to not always be confident about letting everyone see everything, and yet here we are hearing so much from her in our chats with Emily, even if it is behind a closed, or in this case, a bolted door, right? Tim was so shy. Take us simultaneous, Lord. The great scholar David Priest has pointed out, this takes us back to Ovid's Metamorphosis and the Bacchus Philemon story. If we're going to go, let's go together. Lord, back from to Sir, I, and then, interestingly, for the first time, Tim is in quotation marks. And me. So notice we'll start with Tim and I, and we end with Tim and me, with the exclamation point afterwards. Well, what are we going to say at 2a about this poem? I think I called it bizarre to start with. It is a kind of strange poem, no doubt. I think the argument she's making is that sometimes it is hard to get through this life. And if you don't have a pal, you invent a pal, someone who can understand. I mean, think about that Tom Hanks film, Castaway, and the way in which Wilson becomes the friend that everyone kind of laughed at in the moment when they watched that film, and yet here we are playing the game again. It is hard to be in isolation for long periods of time without a pal. If you don't have one, you invent one. She has friends. She's just bolting to keep them outside the door so that she can enjoy Tim, that is to say, her pal. At 2b, well, the child's voice is obvious. Is it Emily, or is it just a child's voice? It's fascinating. I mentioned Blake's Songs of Innocence. You guys remember when we did our stuff at LearnStrong.net over Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience. In Songs of Innocence, you'll remember the poem Chimney Sweeper. There is a chimney sweeper in both collections. Do you remember in Songs of Innocence, Chimney Sweeper, that you've got Tom Darcer, and then remember the names that are assigned to just the children who are chimney sweepers who die? Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. It's altogether possible. We could have thrown the name Tim in there as well. At 3a, well, obviously Dickens' Christmas Carol I've mentioned. I'd like you to go back and look at what we have to say about Stevie Smith's Not Waving But Drowning. You'll remember that I said that swimming looks like drowning right up to the moment that the lungs begin to fill up with fluid. And I think this poem can be read as a really sad poem. In fact, to me, this is one of the saddest poems, lugubrious, mournful poems that Emily writes, because it speaks directly to the pain that she felt, maybe the need to have to isolate herself. Now, what motivates all this is the subject of huge debate. Is it some traumatic moment in her life? Is it the fact that she's writing these poems and sharing them through letters with friends, and the important people who could make her stuff public are not doing that? I mean, it's a huge debate. Finally, though, to own a poem like this, 3b, well, I could ask you if you've ever had an imaginary friend. I could ask you, who is the pal that helps you get through? And is it possible Emily is becoming that for you. For Tim, it is. Thank you.